So Amex Exploration is a discovery and exploration company looking for high-grade gold in Quebec. We've made a number of discoveries this year, recently closed a $9 million financing last week, and are fully armed with sufficient capital to complete a very significant exploration program for 2020. So please be mindful of my forward-looking statements. Nice tight capital structure on this company, 62 million shares outstanding, a little over $10 million in the bank. Most of that will be dedicated to 2020 drilling in the ground on the PERRON project. Market cap around $70 million as of Friday's close. Actually, Eric Sprott is the biggest shareholder in the company and has participated in the past two major financings that we did. In terms of management, Victor Cantori is the CEO of the company, has been involved in the lithium space for a number of years. Jacques Trottier is our chairman of the board and was the founder of a company called Sullivan Exploration, which was bought out in 2014 for about $611 million. Our flagship project is called PERRON. It's located right beside the town of Normatal, Quebec. You can see it's connected to a great highway network. We've got fantastic infrastructure on the project, including highways, power, water, cell phone service, lodging, etc. We had an analyst tour up at site in August and ordered pizza to our core shack to show how proximal we are to major areas. And close to us, you can see Timmins, Kirkland Lake, Rouyn-Noranda, and Val-d'Or. Here we are in the Abitibi Greenstone Belt, which is the second biggest producer of gold globally outside of South Africa. We are essentially centered right in the center of the Abitibi. To the north of us, we have Detour Gold, Hecla Mining. To the south, we have Goldcorp, Agnico Eagle, IM Gold, Kirkland Lake Gold, essentially surrounded by major mining companies. We are in the center of the map on a break called the Shakobie Deformation Zone, which is much less explored compared to the other mining districts, in a very common theme due to ground cover essentially blanketing most of this belt. This is the property geology, and it shows 4 different discoveries that have been made, 3 of which have been made this year. The Eastern Gold Zone on the right, or on the east of the map, the GRATIEN Gold Zone on the left or the west of the map, the Grey Cat Zone to the north, and the Central Polymetallic Zone to the south. What's really interesting about this map is those black dots on the map represent historic and current drill holes. You can see there's very little drilling to the west of our known zones of mineralization. So over here, very little drilling to the east, and essentially no drilling along this northern portion of the fault here. So lots of room for exploration, and with our recent $9 million financing, we're essentially dedicating 20,000 meters to testing along those breaks and look for additional deposits. This is a cool slide. It shows a southern mining camp to scale with our project so far. And what you're looking at here is Agnico Eagle's flagship asset, LaRonde, which is now being mined at about 3.6 kilometers depth across to the Musca deposit. IM Gold's Westwood deposit is in the center here. And what's really neat is the repeatability of these ore deposits, essentially at a 1 to 1.5 kilometer spacing along this break. And they have this really characteristic shape. They have a 70-degree plunge, significant vertical extension, so they go down significantly so, and they're typically shorter strike length, and oftentimes grow in terms of strike length at depth. So far, we've now discovered 3 significant zones on our project, following a very similar trajectory with that characteristic 70-degree dip. Looks like a shorter strike length and bigger depth component, and we're seeing repetition of these structures on the 1.5 kilometer spacing. So we hope to test the validation of that idea along the structures as we go forward. So this is the Eastern Gold Zone. What I'm going to do is walk you through the 3 different discoveries briefly. So you can see the location map up top here. So Eastern Gold Zone first, GRATIEN Gold Zone, and then the Grey Cat Zone. So the Eastern Gold Zone is very, very high grade, arguably probably some of the highest grades that have come out of Canada this year on a consistency basis. And I'll show you what some of those grades look like in a moment. Initially, what I'd like to show you is that we have 3 different lenses of gold mineralization, one called the Denise 1, Denise 2, and the HGZ, or the high-grade zone. The Denise 1, I'll talk about briefly here, has become interesting lately. Up near surface, it's not all that impressive. You get about 1 gram over a meter, followed by 0.5 gram over 25 meters. When we get down to depth, it gets really exciting. So over here, you can see 7 grams per ton over 32.2 meters. with 39 grams over 5.5 meters in the core of that interval. So it seems like grade is increasing to depth as we go down in the system, and we're going to continue testing that idea and continue drilling to depth here. What I'm going to show you now is the high-grade zone on a long section. So up near surface, it's about 50 meters wide across on strike length. As we go down to depth, as is characteristic of the other map that I showed you earlier, it seems like the strike length is increasing. We have this big depth extension. But what's really impressive and important about this discovery is the grade here. I apologize if they're a bit difficult to see. They are for me, actually. But what we can see here is 11 grams over 10 meters. There's 56 grams over 8.5 meters, 270 over 1.35, 393 grams over 1.7 meters. And these are some of the better numbers to come out of Canada in 2019. And what's really impressive to me as a geologist is the consistency of these high-grade numbers spread out across the zone here. It's really common to be able to drill a one-hit wonder high-grade hole that you can get one headline out of on a news release. It's another thing altogether to have consistency of these high-grade. And if you look at our news releases from December 15th through to current, essentially every single one of them has one of these really exceptional, very high-grade holes. So we're really excited about this zone. We've done about 20,000 meters of drilling it into this year, and we'll continue to aggressively define and expand it going forward. This is the GRATIEN gold zone, so the most westerly of the zones. This was found in 1996 and was actually the reason that this company optioned the project. It was thought to be a lower grade zone, but a kilometer long, very widespread gold mineralization. Following our discovery of the Eastern Gold Zone, we reinterpreted all the data that we had on this individual zone, identified the potential for very high-grade ore shoots. We've now put out about 6 or 7 holes so far, and again, the common theme here is very high grade. Our first hole, 1.5 meters of a little over 2 ounces per ton. Second hole, 4.2 meters of a little over half an ounce per ton. Third hole, 4.9 meters of almost 1 ounce per ton. And we put out a really fantastic hole a few weeks ago, 14.6 meters of 16 grams with a high-grade core of 4.9 meters of 1.5 ounces per ton. The ounce per ton is a very common saying in these different systems. So this is a strike, or sorry, we actually cut out the cross-section of this, but essentially it's controlled by a gabbroic intrusion. It's about 1 kilometer long. Historic operators didn't drill through this gabbro into the footwall rocks, and that's where we're seeing the bulk of our mineralization. And if you look at our presentation or come by our booth, I can show you what that looks like more on a geological context. The Grey Cat zone is the most northerly zone that we've identified to date. This seems to be more disseminated. It's a bit further away from the break. We get lower grade, but we get bigger widths, and it starts right at surface. So from 20 meters down hole, we hit 28 meters of 1.2 grams. From 94 meters down hole, 34 meters of 1.89 grams. And from 243 meters, 26.9 meters of 3.5 grams per ton. Recently, we've started to find some high-grade mineralization within this zone. That includes 6.5 meters of 9.3 grams and 2.7 meters of 24 grams per ton. Again, high-grade gold present on this property in each of these 3 different zones. And this is really the blue sky potential of this story and this property. As I mentioned before, there's been very little drilling to the west and to the east of our known 3 zones, which stretch across 3 kilometers. What we hope to do with the recently raised money of around $9 million is try to link these different zones together, identify the potential for bulk tonnage with these higher grade shoots in the system, and test to the west and to the east of these known zones, try to identify additional zones of mineralization now that we have a really good handle on where to identify these different high-grade lenses on the project. So really excited about that. We're dedicating 20,000 meters in 2020 solely to regional exploration and dedicating 40,000 meters solely to continued definition and expansion of the known and existing zones on the project. So we're going to have a really fantastic year for 2020. We'll have significant news flow with 3 drills operating year-round, and we're really looking forward to the growth on this project. We hope to have a resource out sometime late 2020 or early 2021 after we complete this very significant drilling program for the next year. And then just as a summary, 100% owned land package in very, very mining-friendly Quebec. As a reminder to those who don't know about Quebec's benefits, when you spend hard dollars on exploration in Quebec, we get 33% back from the government as a tax incentive. We were able to raise money at a significant premium to the market because of the Quebec super flow-through structure, and the government is very, very, very mining-oriented. We've got 15 kilometers of prospective faults, including the southern limb and the northern limb of that rhyolite wedge. There's the opportunity for multiple ore deposits, as we've indicated with our drilling so far, opportunity for multiple ore deposit styles, including orogenic gold and gold-rich VMS, both of which are very common in the Abitibi Greenstone Belt. Our aim is to provide a maiden 43-101 resource across the project. And we've got a nice tight cap structure with over $10 million in the bank. Most of it will be spent directly on exploration. And that takes me over 10 minutes. Thanks very much for your time, everyone.